From translation, ISV International Standard Version. This 291 day of the year. Today we are reading passages Mark 8 to 9. Mark chapter 8, verses 1 to 38. In those days again there was a large crowd, and they had nothing to eat. So Jesus called his disciples and said to them, I feel sorry for this crowd because they've already been with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. If I send them home hungry, they will faint on the way. And some of them have come from a long distance. His disciples replied to him, How can anyone feed these people in this deserted place with enough bread to satisfy them? He asked them, How many loaves do you have? They said, 7. Then he directed the people to sit down on the ground. Taking the 7 loaves, he gave thanks, broke them, and gave them to his disciples to distribute. They set the pieces before the people. They also had a few small fish. After giving thanks for these, he told the disciples to distribute them also. Everyone ate and was satisfied. Then they picked up 7 large baskets full of pieces left over. Now those who had eaten the loaves numbered 4,000 men. Then he dismissed them and got into the boat with his disciples and went to the region of Dalmanutha. The Pharisees came and began to argue with him. To test him, they asked him for a sign from heaven. Sighing deeply in his spirit, he asked, Why does this generation demand a sign? I tell you solemnly, no sign will be given to this generation. Then he left them, got back into the boat, and went to the other side. Now the disciples had forgotten to bring any bread. They had only 1 loaf with them in the boat. Jesus gave them this warning, Watch out, beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and the yeast of Herod. So they began to discuss with one another the fact that they had no bread. Aware of this, Jesus asked them, Why are you discussing the fact that you have no bread? Don't you understand or remember the 5 loaves for the 5,000, and how many baskets you picked up? Or the 7 loaves for the 4,000, and how many large baskets you picked up? How do you not understand that I was not talking to you about bread? But beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and of Herod. Then they understood that he was not telling them to beware of the yeast used in bread, but to beware of the teaching of the Pharisees and of Herod. When they reached Bethsaida, they brought a blind man to him and begged him to touch him. He took the blind man by the hand and led him outside the village. Then he spat on his eyes, laid his hands on him, and asked, Do you see anything? The man looked up and said, I see people, but they look like trees walking around. Then Jesus laid his hands on his eyes again, and he was restored and saw everything clearly. Jesus sent him away to his home, saying, Don't even go into the village. Jesus and his disciples went to the villages around Caesarea Philippi. Along the way he asked his disciples, Who do people say that I am? They told him, Some say John the Baptist, others Elijah, and still others one of the prophets. He asked them, But who do you say that I am? Peter answered him, You are the Messiah. Then he ordered them not to tell anyone about him. Then he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests and the scribes, be killed, and after 3 days rise again. He said this plainly. But Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Turning around and seeing his disciples, Jesus rebuked Peter and said, Get behind me, Satan, because you do not have in mind the things of God but the things of men. Then he summoned the crowd with his disciples and said to them, If anyone wants to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit his soul? Or what can anyone give in return for their soul? Indeed, whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will be ashamed of when he comes in his Father's glory with the holy angels. And he said to them, I tell you solemnly, there are some standing here who will certainly not taste death before they see the kingdom of God having come with power. Mark chapter 9, verses 1 to 44. 6 days later, Jesus took Peter, James, and John with him and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His clothes became radiant, intensely white, as no one on earth could bleach them. Then Elijah appeared to them, along with Moses, and they were talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, Rabbi, it's good that we are here. Let us make 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. For he didn't know what to say, since they were terrified. Then a cloud appeared, covering them, and a voice came from the cloud, This is my son, the beloved. Listen to him. Then suddenly, when they looked around, they saw no one with them anymore, except Jesus alone. As they were coming down the mountain, he ordered them not to tell anyone what they had seen until after the Son of Man had risen from the dead. So they kept the matter to themselves, discussing what rising from the dead meant. Then they asked him, Why do the scribes say that Elijah must come first? He said to them, Elijah does come first to restore all things. How then is it written about the Son of Man that he must suffer many things and be treated with contempt? But I tell you, Elijah has indeed come, and they have done to him whatever they pleased, just as it is written about him. When they came to the disciples, they saw a large crowd around them and scribes arguing with them. As soon as the whole crowd saw him, they were overwhelmed with awe and ran forward to greet him. He asked the scribes, "What are you arguing about with them?" Someone from the crowd answered him, "Teacher, I brought my son to you because he has a spirit that makes him mute. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him down, and he foams at the mouth, grinds his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive it out, but they couldn't." Jesus answered him, "You faithless generation, how long must I be with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring him to me." They brought the boy to him. When the spirit saw him, it immediately threw the boy into a convulsion, and he fell on the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. Then Jesus asked his father, "How long has this been happening to him?" He said, "Since he was a child. It has often thrown him both into fire and into water to destroy him. But if you are able to do anything, take pity on us and help us." Jesus said to him, "If you are able, all things are possible for the one who believes." The boy's father cried out immediately and said, "I do believe. Help my unbelief." When Jesus saw that a crowd was quickly gathering, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, "You mute and deaf spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again." Then it shrieked, threw the boy into a convulsion, and came out. The boy became so much like a corpse that most people said, "He's dead." But Jesus took his hand, lifted him up, and he got up. After Jesus had gone indoors, his disciples asked him privately, "Why couldn't we drive it out?" He told them, "This kind can come out only by prayer." Then they came to Capernaum. When he was in the house, he asked them, "What were you arguing about on the way?" But they kept silent, because on the way they had been arguing with one another about who was the greatest. Then he sat down, called the 12, and said to them, "If anyone wants to be first, he must be last of all and servant of all." Then he took a child, stood him among them, took him in his arms, and said to them, "Whoever welcomes one of these little children in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes not me but the one who sent me." John said to him, "Teacher, we saw someone driving out demons in your name, and we tried to stop him because he was not following us." Jesus said, "Do not stop him, because no one who does a miracle in my name will soon be able to speak evil of me. Whoever is not against us is for us. I tell you solemnly, anyone who gives you a cup of water to drink because you belong to the Messiah will certainly not lose his reward." Then he said, "Whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him if a large millstone were hung around his neck and he were thrown into the sea. If your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life crippled than to go into Gehenna with 2 hands, to be thrown into the fire that never goes out. And if your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life lame than to be thrown into Gehenna with 2 feet. And if your eye causes you to stumble, tear it out. It is better for you to enter into the kingdom of God with 1 eye than to be thrown into Gehenna, where their worm never dies and the fire is not quenched. Everyone will be salted with salt. Salt is good, but if salt has lost its saltiness, how will you make it salty again? Have salt in yourselves, and be at peace with one another.